looking sprites. We've got Super Meat Boy versus the unnamed soda can. No trademark infringement here in this speed gaming chat.
Sprout.
Absolutely.
And it looks like we're getting started here, and
Meat Boy sleeping on top of the covers for just a second there. That's kind of interesting.
And we're starting,
and bomb right off the bat.
Yes. So the good part for those of you who are just starting out here, the uncle is not guaranteed to have a sword in this tournament. It's only like a 2% chance. There's the cane of burn is a possibility, the fire rod, both of the canes, more bombs, the bow, the hammer, another 1 or 2 items. Am I correct?
Yeah, it should be 7 in total, and I think you got most of them. Bombs would be a little bit trolly at this point, but bow is going to be a very nice weapon.
Bow is great, because not only that, they can start thinking about Eastern Palace, too.
Oh, and it looks like the green guards have arrow drop. So, of course, with all of the Uncle weapons, they do get a full refill, but with that 5 arrow drop in the green guard prize pack, pretty much guaranteed not to have any chance of running out there.
That's really great there. I think the only way that it could get better with the bow is if they found silver arrows while they were doing escape here.
That would be... Haven't seen it start quite that generous in the tournament yet, I don't feel like.
I don't think it'll happen, but with Randomizer, my goodness, you just never know. Especially with the seed that I was in last time, it was totally mean. So it would be really refreshing to see some kindness come from the seed today. There's a generous donation of 300 rupees there in the in that escape chest there with the key.
Yeah, both of our runners with at least a little bit of NMG experience under the belt, so we should be seeing some kind of optimized movement, interesting, strats as we get started off here, and what can sometimes be a little bit boring of a section.
Yeah, it's not too bad anyway. I mean, you can see, oh hey, we see a bottle. We can route Sick Kid and Kakariko now.
Yeah, we've got bottle, we've got bombs, we've got early money. The seed is definitely trying to make the early game routing as painless as possible, seems like.
I like it. I like it.
Killer App down to just half a heart. Gonna pick up those hearts under the pots before going on to take out the ball and chain guard with the bow.
Yeah, that's a pretty nice little refill to have there, so good thing on that. I'd hate to have a death at that point. Now, I believe that they did have a death, say, when they were, like, in their partway to it. Do they get an arrow refill? I know they get a magic refill. I can't remember about the arrows, though, specifically.
Yeah, my understanding is that all of the items that require some form of limited ammo do get some form of refill if you die at any point along escape. And I think the size of that refill depends on how far along you are and at what checkpoint on escape you've reached.
That's pretty generous. Thank you to our randomizer gods.
Yeah, with bombs in that first chest in Link's house, neither of our runners really going to bother killing any enemies that they don't have to. Just going to jump straight to the back of escape here with the bow killing the key rat. Probably not going to be a problem, so we're probably going to end up with a relatively fast escape here.
Indeed. I'm always excited to see what's in back of escape. It seems with this new version, it hasn't been as loaded as past versions, but one of my first seeds that I had progressive red mail, hammer, and the Cane of Samaria all in that back of escape there, so I always get excited.
Yeah, and any kind of progression back there is always, it makes you happy that you got it now rather than having to come back and do it later.
Absolutely, because that's going to linger in the back of your mind, so that's something you don't want to just leave hanging. And nice solid rat kill there from KillerApp, getting that key quickly. And here we go, let's get our first hype of the morning. Moon Pearl, okay, that's bringing some hype as well as some love. I like that.
That is progression indeed, and 1/3 to 1/4 of our way along the way to our Dark World puzzle.
I've seen that Moon Pearl get kind of elusive to runners before, so that's a good thing to find in the back of Escape on the way.
And I believe that leaves our map in Sanctuary chest here, and we see KillerApp is electing not to check that, so he believes the same.
I hadn't been counting, but I believe there's 6 items in that whole escape thing. So, well, there's our map, so that was kind of a good skip there. And KillerApp electing not to check Lumberjack quite yet. I've seen a lot of runners doing that, but maybe Unknown Availability is.
Ooh, and we have bombs from our top tier tree pull, and blue mail sitting in the mushroom spot. Both of those very nice to have in the early game.
Oh, especially, yeah, because if you're going to check Southern Hyrule there, too, for the mini Moldorm Cave and Ice Rod Cave, we got those crabs that do 2 hearts of damage automatically, so that's a good way to cut that damage down.
Unknownability heading up, making that lumberjack check, and seeing just a red boomerang on there. Probably not something that you're going to want to do Aghanim 1 for.
No, definitely not. Thankfully, the Moon Pearl wasn't there like in one of my seeds, so they don't have to worry about it as much. See if Kakariko's bringing even more hype to this. I've seen it be front-loaded quite a bit this recent version, so exciting to see.
Nothing too exciting in the front 4 of Blind's Hut here. Heading to the back chest, getting some extra rupees, and we are going to see also nothing exciting. Okay, so nothing in one of the first item-dense locations.
We'll have to check the well, though. That's where I've seen a lot of the progression happen on most of my seeds, so bit of well hype.
Yeah, and kind of interesting difference here early, I just noticed. KillerApp at 23 arrows, Unknown Availability down to just 7. That can play a role if they get to a mini Moldorm Cave and have too few arrows to actually effectively kill those.
Yeah, hopefully they have some backup to go with that. And we got a mirror. See, what did I tell you?
Another very nice early boon to early routing, especially as Dark World access becomes a possibility.
Well, 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 what do we have there, huh? And you've earned the Bottle Merchant's love today. And I don't think Unknown Availability was very happy with the hut and leaving the hut keeper a tip.
Yeah, and of course, KillerApp23 evolving from one type of generic soda to the other will also be recoloring several of the NPC sprites along the way. So if you're wondering about why the old lady with the broom is looking kind of blue, that's the rationale there.
I figure she'd be listening to too much Eiffel 65, but that's just me. KillerApp grabbing some more bombs, not a bad idea with the amount of money they have, so they don't have to worry about too much about Zora when they go do that. So, and unknown, not quite with the chicken glitch, but that's definitely a fun glitch when you can throw it in the other room like that.
Pretty much anything you can do with the chickens is a fun time, right?
Exactly. Don't be chicken about having fun with chickens. And I think KillerApp's going to do a blind check of the race here.
Yeah, I've seen this a few times, and when you don't have a ton of progression in early Kakariko, this can kind of pay off, sort of making a play on the odds for seeing something useful up here.
And even if not, I mean, it's not the most... oh, that's a good gamble, definitely. But it's not the worst of gambles you can make.
And another very nice thing for the early routing, not going to need to do fake flippers to come down here and check the rest of the South Highway loop.
Absolutely not. And I saw a crystal in Eastern and Desert. I didn't see Hera, though, in that speed.
Yeah, likewise.
But good to know a couple of Dark World things may be skippable. Maybe is the key word, but we'll find that out later.
Oh, and I think Unknownavailability also doing the blind race game check here.
We'll be happily rewarded now. So chat was telling me Hera's blue pendant, I believe. Yep. Thank you, chat.
Yeah, blue pendant, blue crystal. I just don't trust my eyes enough to tell sometimes.
Those map checks go so fast for me that sometimes I don't catch it all, so it's always good to have support. And speaking of support, there's a power glove. Power glove and another bottle from Mini Moldorm Cave. And some extra health, too. I mean, extra health is always good in the early going, too. Can't knock that any. Yeah,
and with 50 extra rupees, we're getting very close to being able to route in Zora very naturally here with our flippers.
I'm starting to feel like Zora may actually have something in the seed, but you never know. Never trust a fish, man.
Yeah, the rupee progression never technically part of the logic, but it always feels when you get one of those early 300 drops like it's sort of telling you, go over there, buy that item as soon as you can.
And sometimes doing those hunches pay off, too, so that's great.
Yeah, and speaking of hunches, as a KillerApp goes to Ice Rod Cave, Unknownavailability taking a left turn over into Agnes Cave.
Titan's Mitt and Ice Rod Cave. You got their mitts on early mitts.
And we have Dark World access with that. Not the most robust Dark World access possible, but it looks like KillerApp with the save and quit may be heading directly over there.
Could be. Let's find out. And just some bombs in Agnes Cave. I know Unknown's going to be pretty happy when he finds if he goes to Ice Rod Cave soon enough here, because I know he did want gloves to early mitts, so we'll see how soon he gets his mitts on those. Sorry, I love that pun. Looks like KillerApp is, and in under 15 minutes, we have Dark World access.
Okay, and we have Swamp Swamp Palace as the green pendant, Skull Woods as the red pendant, and oh god, my memory is failing me, so I'm not going to say anything about the 5 and 6 crystals.
Five is actually right here in Thieves Town, and well, Village of Outcast / Thieves Town, and the other one is an Ice Palace. So probably not the most ideal of red crystals for Ice Palace, but we'll see.
Yeah, and of course, with Misery Mire and Turtle Rock both being crystals, we have our medallions in play as part of our Go mode, and we also have the Death of the Pendant T-Rock Dream that has been giving us so much enjoyment throughout this tournament.
At least it's not too bad. I mean, at the very least, you always route that last, and there's a Cane of Burn on the island. You can always route that in last and then just go right to Ganon's Tower. So that's not bad silver lining, I guess.
Oh, and Killer App, checking Village of Outcasts, opening up Thieves Town, but electing to take care of a little bit of this Dark World loop, possibly even all of this Dark World loop before continuing on to actually enter that dungeon.
Sometimes it's not bad to get those overworld checks out of the way, especially if you find a good amount of progression. And you're probably going to want more hearts for blind anyway if you're not comfortable with them, because blind at like 6-7 hearts can be a real pain in the keister.
Absolutely, and just realizing now, both runners without a weapon that they could actually use to kill blind probably don't want to enter there until they are guaranteed of being able to progress fully through that dungeon.
That's a good point too, though. I've seen some runners check at least the first 4 chests, so that's never a bad idea. And we have a very miserly fairy in the waterfall today.
Yeah, and Unknown Availability, without the 500 rupees needed for King Zora, will elect to just hop back in that whirlpool, not check either King Zora's item or the ledge item up there.
And hopefully it's not going to be something vital. And if it is, hopefully he remembers later. So let's see what happens there. You never know. And Smithy really, really loving that he came back to Light World. I mean, I wouldn't want to be a frog either. So not a bad idea getting the Smithy and the purple chest out of the way early. I mean, it's always kind of seems like a long way out of the way, or at least that's what it feels like. So not bad to get that out of the way, and then maybe I'll route in Hype Cave. Yeah,
and with Mirror, you can get some close to ideal routing here, being able to check things like K45, as we're seeing now. Unknown Availability picking up his first sword in Sasrala's hut, and will presumably be going on to Eastern, but that'll be very nice. He'll probably appreciate having put off Dark World just that little bit, as he will be able to hop right in and kill blind immediately if he so chooses.
Exactly, and oh, hey, there's a book there. Stumpy.
Oh. So we can even potentially route in a Bombos tablet check if we get down to the end of this purple chest quest here.
Absolutely. He won't be able to get it until he gets a Master Sword, but if it just has something like Couch Cash or something, that'd be good to know anyway.
Oh, and I absolutely see the rationale here, just a smidge too late, as Killer App picks up his first sword from a very different location. I think what we're going to see here after that Bombos and Hype Cave check is Killer App finishing up his South Shore and jumping into finish off the flipper checks that he neglected until later.
Exciting.
Yeah, the Bombos tablet, meanwhile, not exciting. just couch cash, so we will not be coming back to that.
Nah, you can always check your couch for that. And I didn't see what was in the first chest in Eastern, but there's one of our 3 items, the Bloomerang. All right, let's bring the hype for Hype Cave. Bottle, I can take it. Nothing so big in that, but, you know, hey, bottle's always good. At least, there's nothing else for potions or insurance, so that's always good.
Yeah, we do have, if nothing else, some nice default potion fills here. As for the ones that we've seen so far, 3 out of the 4 total.
And if they end up with a bug-catching net, you can always get some insurance fairies, as I call them, so can't hurt any. And Killer App opting for the Cane of Burna, not bad. Unknown availability, traversing the dark. Thankfully, these 2 dark rooms are not that bad without the lamp, though they aren't necessarily in logic.
Yeah, definitely not. And having seen a fair amount of the available Dark World checks now, we know that Killer App, having not found the lamp, means that this actually might be a fair bit out of logic in terms of when the seed intends it to be completed.
Yeah, we won't know until we actually find that lamp, and there's Vanilla Big Key right there.
Yeah, and I believe we do have one more non-dungeon item to pick up here in Eastern Palace, so we'll be seeing now whether that's in Big Chest or on Armos.
Which thankfully won't matter. And it looks like it's right there, just a bomb upgrade. I didn't see the first item, though, unfortunately. And unknown availability, saving and quitting.
Yeah, interesting choice. That second dark room is a little bit harder than the first one. Maybe just electing to put that off, not having a extra item on Armos there, or yeah, difficult to say.
Yeah, it could be, because doing those rock clops in the dark can be a real big pain. I've had a lot of experience with that. Looked like Killer App doing a pyramid check, but not really going for the items, so it must not have been really anything special.
Yeah, I suppose the other possibility is that Unknownavailability just really wanted that Zora item, and the moment that he got 500 rupees, decided to just zap over here and get it as soon as humanly possible.
That's good, because we haven't seen that yet. That could be an advantage. And there's a fire shield, so could opt to get it, could not. That one's definitely handier than Fisher Price shields, so. We're getting a catfish check early. I like it. There's our lamp.
And that's one of the more out-of-the-way ones in Dark World. It might be a little while. Killer App, of course, routing that in as part of a sort of natural progression up to Zora here, but with unknown availability, making that Zora check now and getting his vaunted single arrow, it may be a while before he comes back up there to check that, so he may be doing quite a few dark rooms.
And Zora completely swindling our runners in this seed today. That is the most expensive single arrow I have seen in my life.
It's a heirloom single arrow.
That thing better be made of like solid gold or something like that, because that is totally not worth it otherwise. And I think Unknownavailability is going to go get his mitts on his mitts now. And Chad going over the debacle of business of Zora, so please question his business ethics.
Yeah, and KillerApp, having completed his sort of Dark World tour around the South Side Loop, gonna come back in here and looks like take care of Thieves Town and Blind now that he does have that sword. Good
call. It is one of our red crystal dungeons, so picks up the crystal here and in Ice Palace and can do a Fat Fairy check. Getting the big key in the first chest there. Thieves Town having 4 items in it. And powder being one of them. Very nice.
Definitely a nice one to pick up in Thieves Town. Plenty of anti-fairies here to get yourself some extra health if you fall low to these enemies that do a fair amount of damage early on.
Exactly. Powder's one of those ones that doesn't look like it could be all that useful, but then once you remember, hey, anti-fairies, then it starts to really be good in the pinch for you. There's our hook shot. That is beautiful.
Another kind of nice item to pick up early on here, obviously just for the progression alone, but also neither of our runners with boots yet. We may see some sort of tiny speed optimizations zipping along with the hook shot to make things a little bit quicker here in the early game.
Not only that, too, that does open up Death Mountain for KillerApp, so that's actually going to be a big advantage if he decides to go check that after Thieves Town. And the always fun Thieves Town Hellway. I've nicknamed this one the Rattler Room.
Yeah, this room and the Swamp Palace second switch are the two where we get spike blocks that just sort of make that noise.
Grating on the ears. There we go. Finding a compass, so high chance of Blind having an item there.
Yeah, and of course, both runners still without the hammer. We still do have a possibility of the big chest in Thieves Town, which remains inaccessible, containing a non-dungeon item.
Yeah, and that's one of those ones where it's kind of easy to go back and do. It's not too time-consuming, but it's one of those ones that's going to linger in the back of your mind until you actually go check it if it does have an item. So that's one you kind of hope not to have to worry about.
I think we saw KillerApp stun that enemy before killing it with the block there, so it looks like our stun prize is 20 rupees. Very nice if our runners need to, with their 3 bottles that we found, that we've seen so far total, go pick up any potions, spend any extra money for anything like that.
Indeed, good for that. And there's just a five arrows in the jail chest there, so we'll see if Blind has an item or not, because they may not have to go back in. Unknownavailability getting his hook shot now, which is fantastic. And Blind, you speak to me in a pun-loving way. I love you. The other thing to love about Blind, though, is that It doesn't matter what sword you have, it does take the same amount of hits no matter what.
Yeah, and KillerApp not executing the traditional scripted fight, but definitely making very clean work of blind there. Getting the 9 hits off very easily and receiving his first crystal as a reward.
And not only that, so we have the first crystal 30 minutes in, but also the good thing is, if KillerApp has been counting, he doesn't have to go back in and check because that was all 4 items there, so doesn't necessarily need the hammer right now, so that's a good thing.
Oh, and it looks like we're going to get a early magic bat check here.
Yes.
Sometimes this route isn't always ideal because you have to, when you're using the mirror, leave your portal in an inaccessible location. But KillerApp, having already finished the Smiths and Purple Chest loop, has really nothing else to do with it. And so he makes that check, receives that arrow capacity upgrade, but at least that check's out of the way now.
Indeed. I mean, Batcave is one of those places that we don't actually see all that much of in runs sometimes, so it's kind of cool when they do check it. But yeah, KillerApp's riding has definitely been nice through this run here. It's been pretty good here. I like it.
And he is heading back up to the warp here, presumably going to make a Skullwoods dip and possibly Bumper Cave check coming around before going back and hitting some of the more item-dense locations. I think this is a good play to make while you're in the area, just because the other options that you have are so far away from this.
Exactly, and not to mention, it's only 2 items, and it's a fairly short dungeon all the way through, so it's not a bad idea.
And Unknownavailability, grabbing his safety heart and entering his blind fight as well. And we will see with the same sword from a different location how he accomplishes that. First stage taken care of with no difficulty. Ooh, eating a fireball and having blind drop to the bottom. Probably not ideal, and will in the end use that blue potion just to guarantee with just 1 heart left there that he does complete that. But with that taken care of, probably going to finish off the 3rd phase lickety-split.
Better to use it, not need it, than to need it, not use it.
Absolutely. And getting those last 3 hits in ideal fashion, receiving his first crystal as well.
And Mummy's wanting to give KillerApp a hug here. Those Gibdos, they will come at you fast if you're not paying that much attention. And oh, something I didn't know, actually. That was pretty cool. I did not know you could powder the anti-fairies there before picking up the pot there.
Yeah, the trap ones, so long as you get them before they finish moving, or excuse me, before they start moving, are available to be powered at any time, even if you can't see them. Kind of weird.
You learn something new every day, don't you?
It's the joy of Randomizer.
And
ooh,
there's our master
sword from
yes.
KillerApp, and the 3rd sword total that we have seen so far. And I can't help but think that KillerApp, with the bow and the lamp available, maybe going over to Eastern and picking up his 3rd sword before too long.
Yeah, I can imagine that. I think that it might combine that with a pod run, though, just because of the way he's been doing his routing here. That would I think that would be the better call on that one, instead of going right to Eastern. But it looks like we're going to have a graveyard ledge check and around the area, too. Not a bad idea. Sometimes that one's one that's forgotten about.
Yeah, kind of interesting. I don't think I saw KillerApp hop up and do a bumper cave check, which is something that you will sometimes see when you're in the neighborhood there coming out of Skull Woods.
Might be doing that next. We'll have to see.
Oh, yep, sure enough, we are heading back over here, and I wonder if we may not be seeing a bumper cave check tied into the ascent up Death Mountain.
I think so too. I mean, KillerApp's showing us that he's got some really, really good routing on here. So, like I said before, so that's it's gonna be pretty cool. Unknownavailability checking the Batcave now. Looks like it was just bombs on Bumper Cave, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep, and KillerApp heading a little bit further north, maybe contemplating a lumberjack check. Well, having said that now, I don't remember which of our two runners did actually make that, so he may already have that information. But in the end, electing just to head straight into Death Mountain.
We'll see what the old man has, and we will be able to set the Death Mountain waypoint in the save and quit thing.
Yeah, and with Hookshot and Mitts, this is a very nice time to come up here. You can get quite a few items from Paradox Cave, Super Bunny Cave, and Hookshot Cave all combined.
With little sneaks into Spiral Cave and Spectacle Rock and other places if you're feeling so inclined.
Yeah, and Unknownavailability making the play up here into Skull Woods as well, it looks like. Kind of interesting that except for the one little early dip into Eastern, our runners routing, excuse me, not routers running, has been more or less identical so far.
And I didn't see what was there, but I saw red or brown, so it must have been a pretty good item. It was boots, just was I thought. I love it. That's going to be a big boon for KillerApp right there. Just be able to dash everywhere.
Yeah, one of the more attractive checks for Unknownavailability as well after he finishes up what he's taking care of now. But every second you spend with the boots that your opponent does not is a little bit of extra time you gain just from that extra overworld movement speed.
And especially where some of these come down to the wire, sometimes you're going to need every second advantage even when you don't realize it. And KillerApp pulling off that speed glitch there. So if you do a dash and hookshot glitch combo on stairs, you can run around with super speed for a short time, which is one of our minor glitches that you can do here.
Oh yes, and with the Master Sword we get not just a check, but a reception of the flute. A very fortuitous pickup for KillerApp up here. He will be able to traverse the overworld quite quickly indeed now.
That's really going to wet his whistle right there. And Unknown is having trouble with those Gibdos. I'm not surprised. Those things can take more hits than for a lot of things that I've seen.
Yeah, and without the fire rod, there's really no convenient way to kill them, which is why people so often make the choice to just try and dance with them while they get the statue moved into the correct position.
I hate having to do this room without Cane of Samaria, so, oh, Godspeed, man, Godspeed. And KillerApp electing to have coffee break. So Estragon, did you have your coffee today?
I wish I had, honestly. It's hitting me more and more, the fact that this is our very first run of the day, and I am under-caffeinated. And I'm just looking at this soda can, and it's just reminding me of it constantly.
And I had mine, so I'm not making it any better for you. But we're going to see what is in this room here. Big key, so we'll be able to go up if so choose.
Yeah, we have had no non-dungeon items in Tower of Hera yet. Kind of an interesting choice to route this one in, seeing as it is a not even the green pendant, just an ordinary pendant dungeon. But when you're up here on Death Mountain, it really sort of makes you feel bad to leave anything out, because there's always the possibility of having to make an unnecessary second trip up.
Yeah, that's true. And Hera is pretty short anyway, all things considered. And with 2 items, and the fact that I've seen a lot of progression items be up here more often than not, is not a bad idea. Well, there's one non-progression item, a grand old 20 rupees, where there's a total of, I believe, 28 of those in the entire game.
Yeah, and of course, something somewhat interesting to note, we have had both of our runners in Skull Woods with the Mire and the book, neither of them choosing to make that extra detour over there to make the pet check. Probably not worth it at this point with however the vast number of overworld locations that they have left, but keeps the hype alive.
KillerApp with a beautiful Moldorm fight, and getting the second item there, and opting not to do the save and quit. I mean, you're right there. Right? Just get a health refill and magic refill and skip it, you know? Don't skip it.
Yeah, save and quit before you get the blue pendant would not be an orthodox choice, I don't think.
Why look a gift horse in the mouth, right? I need to understand that expression a little more someday. It's such a weird one. And Unknown is about to get his lantern now. Hopefully that should make him pretty happy.
Yeah, and with his choice to dip out of Eastern early, maybe not the ideal time to route it in now, but I wonder if we might not see him go back and take care of that room that he may have dipped out of, not wanting to polish off that second dark room.
That's a good point there. And not much in Super Bunny Cave, but we get the very, very lucrative and useful 1 green rupee. Chuck it at Ganon's head or something.
You know, sometimes you've got 159 rupees and you want to buy that blue potion and you say, wow, I wish I had picked up that one chest.
And we had a Turtle Rock check, but it went by so quick I didn't catch what it was, unfortunately. It is one of 3 medallions.
I believe I saw Quake on there.
Maybe check and confirm. And Hookshot Cave, kind of a bust this time, unfortunately.
Yeah, the Dark World half of our East Death Mountain not really turning up anything too exciting. Gonna take that Mire over, see the fire rod on the floating island, and have to make that second trip back in for into Hookshot Cave to pick up that very important item.
Absolutely, because not only are you going to need that for Turtle Rock now, you are going to need that for... well, I don't think they have to get back in the Skull Woods now that I think of it, since the Pendant Dungeon, but if they did have a crystal there, they would need that for that too.
Yeah, and of course, without Bombos Fire Rod necessary for completing Ice Palace, and considering that is our second 5/6 crystal, and we do have the Mitts and the Flippers, we may see that very shortly in our future here.
Yeah, because I don't think there's many players who adore going to Ice Palace. So it's one of those. If you can get it out of the way, just get it out of the way. You know.
Oh, and of course, we do need Hammer to finish that up. One of those ones that always slips my mind until I'm sitting in front of the room before cold stare, staring at those hammer pegs and wondering where the bad choices in my life were made.
They were made when you didn't hammer in the morning. And it looks like, yeah, it's the 20 rupees in Spiral Cave. Not a whole heck of a lot going on.
Yeah, and again, we're seeing the really just ideal routing, sort of micro routing from Killer App here, finishing off Dark World, putting that mirror down. The one thing that we did see was that mirror to check Floating Island, requiring a second dip into Hookshot Cave. But on the whole, really has himself well set up in terms of knowing which which locations to check in which order here.
Yeah, if that's the only little slight bit of error that he does today, then I think he's doing pretty good. And a lot of vanilla red rupees, I believe, from Paradox Cave. Disappointing.
Yeah, East Death Mountain, really kind of a bust, as Unknown Availability picks up his boots, and we'll be getting to go fast, finally.
Gotta go fast, yo. That's the point of our race. Oh, we're getting a King's Tomb check, too. Nice. And the lousy King's Tomb. He was not a very rich king. And, oh yes, another one that slips the mind very easily, Bonk Rocks.
Yeah, having passed by this location in the Dark World, I thought maybe we had seen it already, but it looks like we have not, as Killer App receives the Ether Medallion from the Bonk Rocks.
Could be useful. I mean, we haven't seen what Medallion Mire has yet, so I think Killer App may elect to check that, as well as maybe Mire Shed or something like that. We'll see after we hear the Hyrule National Anthem. And Unknown Availability finding nothing but disappointment, unfortunately. And just as I thought, I calls him like I sees him. Killer App is checking out Mire. We'll get our Mire check. It is indeed Ether, so Killer App can actually enter. Won't be able to full complete it without Canis Maria, but that's still a possibility on the table anyway to enter. And Mire Shed being kind of a bust. Let's see what Checkerboard Cave has, maybe? World Ledge checking and going into Desert. Nice call.
Yeah.
2 items to find in Desert.
And with the fire rod, well, of course, and having gotten the lamp early from a catfish, has the fire source, has the boots. Desert Palace is definitely going to be completable here.
Absolutely. Not a bad call there. I totally forgot about that one. Good call, Killer App.
Yeah, I don't know that it's necessarily faster to check this before Checkerboard Cave, but it does definitely give you a little bit more item density quicker and gets you that extra crystal.
And then in a tight race, that can mean all the difference. And unfortunately, KillerApp getting hit by the fire in the laser there. Yeah, I like that name.
Oh, and unknown availability taking a fall there before getting the last hookshot chest, so has to take the second trip in just to pick up his arrow capacity upgrade. It looks like he did pre-check the floating island, though, as he is taking the trip over the invisible bridge. We'll be picking up his fire rod.
We'll be happy to get that at least, because that's gonna open. Yeah, it'll open up some stuff, like we said before. Just gonna find out where's that ice rod be? And we have Moldorm. Not a bad start on that fight. Pretty accurate aiming with the fire rod.
Yeah, with no half magic, you've got relatively tight tolerances on hitting your shots, and KillerApp not missing a single one, and getting the, not the 0 cycle, but the 1 cycle. So, not a bad Landmolus fight in the slightest.
Not at all. And Chad again out for blood, wanting a Ped Seed again. Will we get it? Low chance, but still possible.
Yeah, and some other very thoughtful micro-routing here from KillerApp. Taking care of Landmolus before going in to check the big chest. If Landmolus would have had that second item, this would have been unnecessary, but he makes the trip back in there, receives the shovel as his second item. So almost all of our fetch quests taken care of. We've had our powder checks. All that's left is our mushroom.
And I can dig that. I can dig it.
But are you talking about Shaft?
Sure. But right now, I want to talk about Checkerboard Cave here, and unknown availability going into Ice Palace now, too. Should be interesting here. Ice Palace having 3 items. Kind of a longer full clear, though. And that's where having Hookshot is great to have an Ice Palace there. 1 hit kills the Pengators with that.
Yeah, without Tempered Sword to take care of them with spins, they can be pretty annoying. Yeah, and KillerApp, with a few dungeons still on the table, electing to hop right over here and check that dig spot immediately. Just get that fetch quest out of the way.
That's the thing about fetch quest items. They could be totally vital, or they could be just like that, kind of a bust. KillerApp doesn't seem to be very happy about that one. Probably thought it was going to be some kind of progression item, but instead led to a little disappointment.
And I think maybe KillerApp, forgetting that he didn't have the hammer there for a second, went into the menu, went to the left of the flute, and found himself sitting on lamp, and took a second to contemplate before fluting away to a different location.
And we have the Ice Palace bomb jump here. This one is kind of a tricky one to get right, but when you get it, it is just makes all the difference in this dungeon. What's your trick for pulling off the Ice Palace bomb jump? How do you go about it? A lot of people go about it different ways, so I'm curious.
Yeah, the shadow, I think, is the most consistent across various sprites. I end up using the head because I find it easier to line up with the top sort of barrier there, but it's different for everybody. And KillerApp making a kind of interesting choice here. Coming back in, we've already seen at least one item in Skullwoods, but we are going to jump in and, at the very least, make our pedestal check.
Get hype.
And pedestal is deadestal, as we do see just a health upgrade there. But coming over here, taking that portal back, and we will be killing Mothula.
Sounds good. I think we still have one item on the table here, do we?
I think we must. KillerApp going around to check this chest here. Presumably he finds the item here, because we have definitely seen at least one non-dungeon item already from Skullwoods. If he gets an item here, I can't imagine that there would be any rationale for killing Mothula. Since he did not, though, receiving the compass, it looks like we are going to get to see an extra boss fight.
Cool. I always love a good Mothula fight. If nothing else, if you have bee in a bottle, it's always fun to do the Eddie Izzard thing and say covered in bees. So it's a good one.
Yeah, sadly, our default bottle fills have been so nice, we haven't had the opportunity to retrieve a bee to unleash on Mothula.
I think I've seen a seed before that was all bees in bottles, so that was pretty amusing. Yeah, and this is exactly why you want to end your Mothula fights quick, because those spikes fly around all over the place. Lots going on. It's about as bad as a shmup.
Yeah, and for a Master Sword Mothula fight, that is a very quick execution there. Grabbing that last item from Mothula, and this time electing to save and quit before getting the pendant, I believe, as with the pedestal check completed, there is a guarantee that I believe, red pendant is no longer required.
Absolutely, so kind of don't blame him on going out to take care of that now. KillerApp looks like going into Eastern, I believe.
Yeah, and Unknownavailability, meanwhile, having finished up the his Ice Palace as far as he can without the hammer, leaves there both of our runners being forced sort of to take some kind of low percentage checks. Finish a pendant dungeon that they know they don't need, finish a crystal dungeon that they know they can't complete. And now we are seeing them come back to maybe some more orthodox choices.
I think so too, because I mean, when you don't have that hammer, it's kind of dicey because that could be a lot of anywhere. And I think both runners are making some pretty solid gambles as trying to find that hammer. So I think that's what's going on here. And Bloomerang for KillerApp, that probably won't be coming into play at this point in the run.
Oh, and KillerApp trying to make use of sword beams there to kill the second invisible Stalfos. Unfortunately, just a half heart short, so just a few ineffectual sword swipes.
That's what I always hate about the Stalfos room. When you get it perfect, you get it perfect. Otherwise, it gets dicey, because I hate when they jump away from you like that. That is such a pain. Chat making a good point too. Hammer could easily be in Mire.
Yeah, Hammer could be in Mire. Hammer could be in a Palace of Darkness chest, and the sort of ultimate in unfortunate placements, Hammer could, of course, still be in that first chest of Swamp Palace, that vanilla map chest, locking the progression to the rest of the dungeon. In my opinion, the very worst place to see it, but yeah, anything is possible at this point.
Absolutely. I think my money would be on Pod, just because it's got 5 items in it, and it's had a tendency more often than not to actually have item progression in it. So I always say, even if Pod is a pendant dungeon, it's always worth dipping in anyway and checking it, just because of its percentage on having progression items. And Unknown is about to get a tempered sword now. Probably pretty happy about that one.
Yeah, and KillerApp going into the Armos fight very shortly here, presumably will be hopping out to check the back of Hut and receive his tempered sword from a different source as well pretty soon.
Kind of funny how they've been taking different routes with the swords, but still end up in the same place. That's the fun about progressive swords there.
And we do have our confirmation that the couch cache on the Bombos tablet was a big 20. So always nice to know exactly what currency you're missing, I guess.
Exactly. I mean, and it's one of those things too. If nothing else, peace of mind is always pretty nice in this run. So always a little silver lining in that case, if nothing else. And KillerApp, it looks like getting crystal number 3 now out of 7. So we're about an hour. We're about an hour in now, and this is the point of the run. I'd like to say, if you are enjoying what these runners are doing, and they've been doing a great job so far, please give them a follow. They have been kind enough to entertain you today. So see what else they're doing.
Absolutely. Still a great race, still a close race at this point, and KillerApp picking up his tempered sword, presumably since he did not mirror here, or, well, coming back to the only sort of main area Dark World warp that he has accessible, maybe going to take the long route into Pod here? Kind of difficult to say. Without that hammer, the Dark World routing becomes very critical, the choices that you make and when you make them.
Absolutely, because when you only have that one location available to you, you really gotta plan ahead there. Thankfully, with the boots, though, it's a much quicker check. Or get to, rather. Excuse me.
Yeah, and taking the overland route here, having already finished off Catfish and Pyramid, I can only imagine that he is, in fact, heading over to Palace of Darkness here.
We're going to see what Pod has in our future today, and I'm getting pretty hyped for Pod as well. Like I said, it's been a useful dungeon more often than not, so can't wait to see what's inside.
Yeah, and as we come up on it, I'm excited to see how KillerApp routes it, given how on point he's been with his routing so far, and given the just vast variety of choices that you can make routing through it, given the front loading of small keys in it, the many different item combinations that you can have as you enter into it with bow lock sections, semi-hammer lock sections that you have to take a long way around to get to, the possibility of a small key not in the first chest. There's so many choices to make here, and I'm interested to see how he makes them.
And let's see if we find a key in that small chest first. Yes, indeed, there is more to see. And in the meantime, unknown availability is available for the land mollusk fight.
Yeah, it looks like he's just electing to go with, used up his fire rod, excuse me, and is finishing off land mollusk with tempered sword spins.
And there's our big key for Pod there. And that is unknown availability second crystal. And there's still a possibility in Pod we could actually see Vanilla Hammer. Wouldn't that be the hoot?
You know, more vanilla is always what we need in a randomizer seed.
Vanilla can be kind of funny. You don't expect it to be in the location it should be because of rando, but whoop, there it is. We'll see if that's true today. And there's our first item in Pod, just 10 bombs. Still a lot to see, though. I've watching videos and stuff. I've seen a couple of people refer to it as the mullet dungeon, where it's business in the front, party in the back. Tend to be living up to that namesake there. Though I wouldn't necessarily call it mullet dungeon, but that's just me.
Absolutely. With just one non-dungeon item found so far, we are guaranteed a back end that is stacked with something at least. If not progression, then at least some actual items. That's one item that is not progression, the 10 arrow capacity upgrade.
Definitely the biggest one, though, so it's marginally better than that.
And we are seeing KillerApp here, after finishing off Desert, making the play here into Swamp, checking that one chest that he can without the hammer. If this turns out to contain a progression item, this will be worthwhile. And if it turns out to contain the hammer, this will be a very important play.
And getting a bug-catching net from the Harmless Hellway there, so that's our third item. Pod may be proving me wrong here.
Oh, and that's not a progression item there in the first chest, but a nice item to have, the half magic.
Yeah, oh, definitely. And KillerApp was not happy about that, so leaving a bomb with a letter on it. You take a guess as to what that letter is.
Yeah, and now we've got a interesting choice here. Unknown availability heading up possibly to Hera here, which we know does not contain any relevant progression for him. KillerApp, it looks like, electing to hop over into Mire. Another dungeon that he cannot complete, but that he can enter and does contain 2 items that may be the progression that he seeks.
And it's always fun getting a frozen murder-dactyl.
Yeah, I learned the other day, you can not only freeze it there, but you can actually just carry it directly into the dungeon if you want.
Fun. Vitreous demands a sacrifice.
And unknown availability, meanwhile, of course, picking up his flute from the ether tablet up there. Easy to forget with the boots, that's going to be a significant increase in overworld mobility for him and will allow him to check the Mire area that Killer App is wandering around in right now.
And there's a map in Misery Mire. I don't think we've seen an item yet, but let's see. And big key, little key. Always good to find that big key early in Mire, just so you don't have to go all the way through and find it in its vanilla location and wait for that wall to recede.
It's the curse of Mire, is that when you're not go-moding it, you'll find the big key first thing, and when you are go-moding it, you'll find it in its vanilla location.
A perfect thing to play the Mario 2 death theme to. Compass, there's still no items yet, so electing to do the wall backing.
Ooh, and unfortunately, missing the block push invisibility, or whatever we want to call the block push there that lets him fire the fire rod through it. Has to take a little extra time there, but still having no difficulty enjoying his cutscene as a result.
Yeah, and definitely too. I mean, as long as you're not starting it, it's not really that bad. But then when you're trying to finish it, it's that's when it gets a lot of fun.
Yeah, and they tell me this cutscene is the same length as the wall moving cutscene in Palace of Darkness, but it just feels so much longer.
Hey, Buttersword's not a bad thing to get.
No, not progression, but definitely does not hurt. Especially coming up here on Vitreous, potentially. Without Samaria, of course, not being able to make it all the way to Vitreous, but for those endgame bosses, makes them just that little bit faster.
I always thought swords do hurt, actually.
I guess that's what they're made for, you know.
But this one just has the added power of cholesterol, or however you pronounce it.
Yeah, coronary artery disease, truly the final boss of Link to the Past.
That's what happens when you're Ganon and you pig out, you know? Unknown availability, blue pendant gets. There is our hammer, folks. Not a bad 2 items from Mire. So Mire's definitely going to be required dip. Hopefully Unknown is going to find that ether very soon. I don't remember where it was right off the top of my head. But Killer App's definitely got killer lead on this right now, I feel like.
Yeah, and with Hammer, he's just going to elect to come right back over here, finish up Palace of Darkness. I believe all he has left is Helmasaur at this point.
Indeed, so Killer App very close to go mode. We're still looking for Ice Rod at the very least.
Yeah, Ice Rod, Samaria, and Quake Medallion, I believe the only items that are definitely required.
Kind of what will be interesting to find out what and where it is. My money would be Swamp for stuff, but we'll find out. We still have 5 items in Swamp that we haven't seen yet, so that might be a really good play at this point. For Killer App, anyway.
Yeah, Unknown Availability, heading over to Bonkrox, picking up his Ether Medallion, will be able to make that Mire dip and get that hammer at his leisure, just as soon as he decides that is the play.
Hopefully it doesn't linger on that too long, because that's got some definitely good items in Mire.
Yeah, KillerApp, meanwhile, another room that feels real bad not to have Samaria in. Doing the little wiggle back and forth to get maximum speed as he pushes that statue, but it still just feels so slow.
Yeah, I can attest to that. Speaking of slow...
Yeah, but see, this cutscene feels so much faster now because you've just endured the one in Misery Mire.
And plus, you can... I think it's slow because you can actually... Like, the one in Mire is slow because you can see the wall receding in the other ones. But in Mire, you don't actually see it because you're off in another room, so you're just sitting there waiting. And terrapin tipping. Or terror pin tipping. Oh, these names. And now Unknownavailability can fly. And Helmosaur King about to be defeated with a combination of caffeine, sugar, and butter.
Yeah, Helmosaur King given a very nice early pattern there, jumping on down to the bottom wall, letting you ricochet off that and get a bunch of hammer hits on it once. And with the butter sword, pretty much trivialized. Just 2 slashes to the big glowing green spot. Nets KillerApp a crystal and the Cane of Samaria, so 1 step closer to go mode.
If Phantom Ryu's watching, he's probably going nuts right now. But yeah, Pod actually required definitely, of course, but surprisingly not having all that much aside from the cane. Interesting.
Oh, and KillerApp, it looks like heading to Ice Palace over here, rather than electing to take his cane and go finish off the Mire that he just left.
Well, interesting, but I can kind of see it. I mean, you can whistle right over there, pretty much. So I would imagine he's gonna do this, then maybe go over to Swamp, and then maybe take out Mire. So Mire's kind of at his leisure now that all the items are out of there.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, the benefit of commentator's perspective, we've seen Unknownavailability grab 2 of the 3 items out of this dungeon and find them to be wanting. And so we know that there's a relatively low chance that we get something useful here. But of course, KillerApp not privy to that information.
Commentary, it is both a blessing and a curse.
Yeah, and Unknownavailability, about to enter Mothula here, pick up a heart container, I believe it was. Also check the pedestal along the way, so he knows that that blue pendant he picked up is not going to be worth anything this run.
Fortunately not, but if nothing else, probably pick up the red pendant just to get the health and magic quick boost, and then go from there. Or not, because I think it's actually the Sanctuary heart container. And KillerApp making easy work of that bomb jump, just coming from somebody who has both seen it and experienced it. That is not an easy bomb jump to do.
Yeah, and of course, Unknownavailability coming in here with Master Sword had a slightly more difficult time with the Mighty Ducks, but with Butter Sword, 1 slash takes care of them. KillerApp getting through that room very quickly.
And with the spin sword slasher, that's pretty much overkill. Looks like Unknownavailability's figured out that, hey, Ether is Mire, so I think we'll be going in very shortly to find his hammer. ₹50 for the college fund there.
Yeah, KillerApp having paid everybody who needs paid in the seed, I believe, at this point, is definitely not going to be short on potions if he decides that he needs them.
Absolutely not. Can retire and go buy a mansion somewhere in Kakariko or something. Personal thing here, I always find that stairwell, especially if you don't have the boots, I just have the worst time trying to line up and get into the stairwell there.
Yeah, it's a rough one. My personal opinion on Ice Palace is that it's a really fun dungeon, except for the ice, and this room is one of the exemplars of that.
And Unknown is making his way into Mire and will be greatly rewarded and happy, and hopefully not too frustrated that the hammer was hiding there all this time. Some people do slashes, some people do pulls, some people don't do anything. What do you do, Estragon?
I like the pulls because my default sprite gives you a really funny frowny face when you do it, so it just sort of expresses your frustration in the purest way possible.
Ditto here, because the pulls just make the look so... It expresses it well, you're right.
Yeah, chat pointing out for me, there is one more extortionist that we do have potentially required for this seed, the Big Bomb vendor. Not yet checked by either player, as we are seeing KillerApp get his second 5/6 crystal at this point.
Oh, yes, that's right. I almost forgot Ice Palace was a red crystal for a moment. There's a lot to keep track of in these runs sometimes, so... And naturally, you know, some things will slip your mind a little bit. Racers, commentators, everybody. It can be tricky.
Yeah, and KillerApp making the heads-up play, unlocking that side door, and making sure to have full magic. Without half magic here, and without Bombos, he is going to need every bit of that to unlock Cold Stairs Shell here, and head at him with Butter Sword.
And getting most of Cold Stare in the corner, and then one slipping out, but you can't escape the KillerApp forever. And just bombs, unfortunately. So Ice Palace, item-wise, being a bust, but crystal-wise, might have something pretty good.
Yeah, now, of course, KillerApp has that Mire play available, needs to get that crystal, but still 2 items away from Go Mode, is going to want to figure out where those items actually are before going on to actually try and finish up the seed. And looks like, rather than heading up to Turtle Rock and making a potentially desperate gamble here, will be at the very least taking care of that Big Bomb before going on.
Absolutely. I mean, doing gambles at Turtle Rock is very, very dicey, especially when you don't have all the items you need to do it. And Unknownavailability getting his hammer finally. But reason being is, I mean, if you can't find like all the items you need to have, especially for Trinex, where you need to have like the Fire Rod, the Ice Rod, that's going to be a lot of trouble, and you're going to have to double dip. Now, I don't know about you, but how much do you really want to double dip Turtle Rock?
Yeah, most certainly the least fun dungeon to double dip. Every extra trip you take up Death Mountain is one you wish you hadn't.
And let's see what the Fat Fairy has. But as I like to say, too, it ain't over till the Fat Fairy sings, so I think it's going to ring true in this run, too. Not too much there, but a little extra health never hurt anything.
Yeah, 15 hearts, Blue Mail, and Butter Sword. We're definitely setting ourselves up for some easy fights near the end of the game.
Definitely always helps. Okay, and unknown availability. Now hopping into Pod, having everything he needs to complete it, can just grab everything in one go, I believe.
Yeah, and KillerApp, meanwhile, not a ton of overworld checks remaining to complete, electing to finish off one of the more prominent ones here, Hammer Pegs, before making that always undesirable dip into Pendant Swamp.
Cape there, KillerApp realizing, don't really need that one, so skipping that over. A good grab early, but when you're this late into it and you know what items you need and don't need, it's kind of becomes moot unless you want the extra insurance added.
Yeah, we have seen just 3 bombs on that bumper cave, so we know nothing of value there in terms of progression.
I don't think, come to think of it too, I don't think we've seen either player check Spike Cave.
Yeah, I do believe you're correct.
So that may still be on the table, because Spike Cave has always been a 50-50 from what I've seen. But I think heading into Swamp is the better play, in my opinion. Because you still have 5... we know there's 5 more items that we haven't seen, and we know KillerApp will get this half magic, so we'll see.
Yeah, certainly more item dense. And what I think the real interesting thing here will be if KillerApp does not receive both of his go mode items in this dungeon and finds himself heading up to Turtle Rock 1 item short, will he check Spike Cave before dipping into Turtle Rock to try and find that last item and make sure to be able to clear it without a double dip?
With the way KillerApp has been routing, I think he'll check Spike Cave first. I got a pretty high feeling about that one if there's nothing in Swamp here. There, KillerApp getting his half magic a moment ago. Unknown availability. Ought to be careful here. Only got a few hearts left.
Yeah, and the dongos in Dark Maze that he's coming up on shoot those fireballs that do that constant environmental damage. Definitely an easy way to accidentally take a death, even when you've got quite a lot of safeties.
And they like to spit out gratuitous fireballs, so... And just an arrow upgrade there.
Yeah, in KillerApp, it looks like electing to do the backside first. You see this a lot when people are just a few items away from go mode and when they've checked a lot of the overworld already, thinking, you know, if I get my go mode in the back of Swamp, then I don't have to check left-hand side, and it's not too much of a time loss, even if I have to jump back in and check it. So, again, some sensible micro-routing here, I think.
Absolutely, yeah, because if you find all the go mode items early even, then you can just be like, oh, hey, I have everything. I don't have to clear all this out. Bye-bye. Speaking of go mode items...
Yeah, we are just looking for Quake now with the ice rod found in that chest.
Kind of wondering if maybe Argus will have it, so, yeah, that'd be interesting.
That would be quite something.
You know,
Unknown availability, meanwhile, bombing the right side of this pathway, filling up from just 1.5 hearts left to the end there from those fairies.
Nice call there. That's always good to have, and with the bug catching net too, if you're not feeling confident, you can always catch some insurance fairies there too. And making easy work of Argus. And just a compass from Argus, putting the ARG in Argus, indeed.
Yeah, and with just one item remaining, I can only imagine that KillerApp will be jumping right back into Swamp here and getting those last two items that do remain on the left-hand side, just to be absolutely sure.
The other thing very possible now, because Green Pendant is here, he could opt to go to Sahasrara too and find if Sahasrara actually has the one last item he needs for go mode.
Yeah, and with Flute, that's an extremely quick check. Definitely something he's going to want to do before climbing Death Mountain.
And this time, you can actually access Dark World instead of doing Anger Slashes. Just a little love there.
Yeah, and I believe I wasn't 100% up on my counting, but I think we do still have 2 full non-dungeon items in the back of Swamp here, as we got both the map and the compass on our way back the quick route.
I'm pretty certain too. I've been keeping a little bit of track of it, so I have 2 items written down as well. And there's that other Rattler room we were talking about earlier.
Yeah, unknown availability, just shy of that Fireball Sprite cancel, breaking off Helmsor's mask just an instant too early, but also with the Butter Sword, not really taking any significant damage there.
And gotta be happy about Kane Get. Yeah, the one thing you want to do for some people are not in the know, you want to make sure that you hit the switch again. I think you want to hit the switch again to make sure those orange pegs are down for left side if you're checking it. Otherwise, you're going to have to go right back and do it again. And KillerApp not finding much, unfortunately, on the left side. But, hey, you know, it's better to check it.
Yeah, hitting that switch definitely in the category of random mistakes that you make exactly once, and then you remember it for the rest of your life.
Those aren't the kind of mistakes you really want to do. And KillerApp is actually going to go bring that to Sahasrara. Indeed, it was. Oh, Swamp is actually required.
Pendant Swamp providing the value once again, as we get two of our for Killer App, the last two progression items in there.
And I think with Killer App, we can officially say that he is in go mode. If that's the case, then about an hour and 34-minute go mode. He doesn't have to check anything, but if he did want to check out anything, I mean, silver arrows are still on the table somewhere, so couldn't hurt.
Yeah, with the Butter Sword, even silverless Ganon, really not a huge concern. But I would think that even with Butter Sword, we would still see the last three chests in Ganon's tower checked.
And a little trouble with the Armos Knights, but still getting out of the fight pretty easily, so that's pretty good. And yeah, I should be able to make short work of Vitreous here, Killer App, when he gets to him. I always like to say with having the silver arrows for Vitreous, I call it Clear Eyes because it gets done so fast that you say, wow.
Yeah, kind of an interesting chickens coming home to roost, I suppose. Killer App electing not to pick up the cape, and now without silver arrows, doesn't have access to one of the quicker strats for finishing off the eyes, just equipping the cape, doing some Butter Sword dashes through them. Still not going to have too much time difficulty here with just the absolute surfeit of items that he's got going for him. But interesting case of saving 2 seconds to lose more than 2 seconds later on.
And with Butter Sword, it's no big deal, so, you know. The main thing he does want to watch out for is that Zappy from Big Vitreous there.
Yeah, and of course with that execution, it's easy to see why he wasn't too concerned about the cape. Taking those little eyes out with just a few spins in short form and finishing off with 8 arrows to the big eye to receive his 6th crystal.
And getting the illustrious, incredible, elusive small key for the trouble. And Unknownavailability, kind of a laggy way of getting that done, but hey, you know, whatever gets it done, right?
Yeah, for as few particle effects as there are in that giant Stelphos room, I'm always surprised at how much lag seems to be generated.
Yeah, I agree, but you know, it's like there's no wrong way to eat a peanut butter cup, though, I guess, right?
It's an elderly game, our dear Link to the Past. Sometimes it is a little slow getting up in the morning.
Yeah, it's like me. I can hear that. And we are about to see Turtle Rock for the first time, so this ought to be pretty... It's going to be pretty exciting. I mean, whenever you get to Turtle Rock, it's always pretty exciting, because you know that things are going to be done in pretty short order.
Yeah, depending on the biggie location, Go Mode Turtle Rock, not especially different from full clear Turtle Rock, so we won't be seeing a tremendous time difference here. And it's not unthinkable, as we were saying before, that Killer App might check Laser Bridge just for silvers. But yeah, coming to the end of a run, Turtle Rock is always kind of a fun wrap up.
And then from there, you just scoot over to Ganon's tower and just Ganify it away from That's All She Wrote. Meanwhile, Unknown Availability still got a couple of crystals to catch up with, unfortunately, but shouldn't be too long before doing so. Oh, hey, there's your big key.
Yeah, so we'll get to see very early on here whether KillerApp has decided that he is go-moding this dungeon. If so, he will almost certainly steal the key from over on the left side of the... I don't know what to call it, the pneumatic tube room inside Turtle Rock, and continue on to the back immediately.
We can call it Pipe Cave, I guess. I don't know. Pipe Cave, Trying to make it sound kind of exciting, at least. KillerApp electing to use the kind of burn a strat. Well-placed hookshot does pretty good as well. It's always lovely to have those invincibility frames there from hookshot.
Yeah, a little burn and dash weirdness there as he tries to burn a dash with it already activated and ends up accidentally deactivating it. But not too terrible in the grand scheme of things.
And really nicely clean kill of the Hokuboku there. And, oh, KillerApp accidentally taking a death.
Yeah, and even with blue mail and 15 hearts, those chain chomps are not something that you can treat lightly. KillerApp trying to get up there, set up the Samaria block to quickly clear that room, ends up costing himself a little bit of extra time.
Though with the lead he has right now, it's not going to be a big deal, so, because Unknown still has to pick up his crystal from Mire and then go into Turtle Rock, so I think he just finished up Ice Palace. Oh, yeah, I gotta do Swamp, too, and go in that. I forgot all about that.
Yeah, he's gonna need to, from his perspective, full clear Swamp, as he's not gonna know that that green pendant gets Quake until he sees it from Sasrahala's grubby little hands.
So Hasrullah, ever the hoarder.
It looks like he is, oh no, heading over here, checking Hype Cave. Somehow we've managed to avoid that all this time. Hasn't been that big of a deal, as Hype Cave was not particularly hyped this go-round, but kind of interesting that's been put off for so long on Unknown Availability side.
Yeah, this time I'd say it's a smart move. It also hasn't been as lucrative as it has in past iterations of the rando, so.
Yeah, and KillerApp, meanwhile, not interested in taking the extra time to check that vanilla big key chest. Just stealing that key, heading right along.
Yeah, so we're probably gonna avoid Mimic Cave as well here. And Unknown gonna check Fat Fairy. Probably gonna be a little disappointed. To answer a question in chat, Hype Cave used to be a pretty loaded area in past seeds for progressive items and everything. Not so much nowadays, though. Still likely, but we haven't seen it as much.
Yeah, it's sort of been scaled down to just kind of the same as any other relatively item-dense location. It's got the 5 items, but it's not guaranteed progression like you saw in some earlier versions of the randomizer logic.
KillerApp making quick work of that of that room there. Not opting to check laser bridge. I think KillerApp just wants to get this over with at this point, so he's probably very content in doing Serverless Ganon. And I think it's only 12 hits with Butter Sword anyway, so it's not that big a deal.
Yeah, and having cleared every single pendant dungeon, if not actually received the pendants for all of them, he may potentially be thinking that he's behind at this point. With the green pendant having Quake, he probably knows that he doesn't have to be too concerned, but still, probably thinking that every second counts.
Absolutely, and really clean two-head kill on Trinex there. But now for the third one.
Yeah, electing for the Butter Sword spin here doesn't do any extra damage, but it does put you right in position to get the extra slashes to the head, and indeed he does, receiving his 7th crystal.
Oh, and there's a silver arrows anyway.
Boy. And didn't look for him, but he found him.
And speaking of things that are exciting, y'all know what time it is, chat? Well, be quick about it. It is time to get in your guesses in. There are 22 chests in Ganon's Tower. Which of those chests is it going to be? Place your bets now. So, Esragon, what are you thinking?
I don't know. We're seeing Unknownavailability go with the play that can make him back the lead. I'm going to go ahead and say 22 and say, you know, maybe Unknownavailability can get himself back in this.
Fair enough. I'm going to guess, I believe, if they follow the usual order 8, the room with the twin fire bars.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what route KillerApp chooses as he goes through this dungeon.
All right, so we got 2 there, so let's see. Oh, KillerApp boldly going to the right. Interesting choice. Yeah, going to the right, especially for me being more of a slightly newer player, is not a room I want to deal with. This room in particular is just a big giant pain, and then you can just come across a rude door if you're not careful.
Yeah, definitely one of the bigger time losses you can eat if you miss your timing on those fire rod shots by just a little and end up having to go back through and relight all those torches. Okay,
right,
getting a mushroom, but through chest 6, we do not have a big key.
I'm sure that mushroom will net us something incredibly vital to this run. And KillerApp opting to skip out and go left now. And if you can't tell, I have to take a napkin and wipe the sarcasm off my face.
Yeah, we do see the 4th potion on the torch there. KillerApp, happy with the safeties that he has, is not going to bother with the extra second to knock that one down.
And I think that might have been number 7. At number 8, I believe.
Number 8, exactly. So not necessarily the room that people might have thought, but I believe your guess was correct.
I calls them like I sees them, and if you call them like you sees them too, number 8, I believe you do win something because we are in the speed game chat, but if that can't get set up, you have earned Rick's kudos points. So if nothing else, and I get my own kudos points because I am self-indulgent. Haha.
Yeah, and with silvers now, KillerApp really going to have a very difficult time losing this lead. And it's really interesting, I think. At no point really do I think that Unknownavailability made a choice in terms of his routing that I would consider bad. He made some different choices. They checked things in some different orders. There was that early dip into Eastern that didn't turn out to be ideal. But in the end, a lot of this time difference has just come down to KillerApp making some great routing choices rather than really poor performance on either side. So this has really been, I feel, a great race.
It has been. I mean, there's no fault in it, and sometimes that's just how the rando rolls you. So you know, you can't fault anybody. I've definitely been really enjoying this race myself, so I have no complaints on, like I said, on either of the runners either. So, and KillerApp going through the gauntlet with some pretty ease for the most part here. And into Landmola's 2. Getting cut off at the pass by a hit there, unfortunately. Meanwhile, Unknown getting his ice rod finally. Now this area here for me is interesting. I haven't been able to quite personally line up the Canis Mire just right, but when you see it lined up and just hit and taken care of like that, it looks so gorgeous.
Yeah, it's one of those tricks that is surprisingly difficult when you go to actually execute it, and saves, you know, I don't know, maybe 4 seconds, 5 seconds total, but it's just so satisfying when you get it right.
It is, and when you see other people do it, they make it look so easy. But it's kind of like the Ice Palace bomb jump. Sometimes it looks a lot easier than it really can be. And we're within seconds of seeing Moldorm 2. Unknown getting the green pendant, and we'll probably bring that over to Sahasrara pretty soon. And 2 hits with Butter Sword, and Moldorm is out of here.
Yeah, and Unknownavailability, checking left side while he was in there, unfortunately still has to dip back in for that one item contained in Big Chest. Unfortunately, just a heart piece, but a little bit sad to have to jump back in there for what we know is nothing.
Absolutely. KillerApp not checking that last chest there either, unfortunately.
Yeah, he's got everything that he could conceivably want for this Ganon fight already. And getting could have been a triple, but I think those two balls were a little too close together. Probably registered as a double.
Yeah, the second Aga fight it's usually easier than the first just for that reason, too, with the multiple clones shooting at him.
Yeah, that one was definitely a triple, though. So 2-1-3, I believe. Very efficient Aghanim 2 fight.
Wham, bam, thank you, ma'am. And Unknown making the shovel check. Probably won't dig what's inside, but inside the pyramid, we have a Ganon fight.
Ganon, not quite sure what game he's in, but whatever, you know, he's in so many. It gets tough.
Exactly. He, you know, it gets confusing after a while. I can understand that. Nice hookshot strats to dodge those flames there.
Yeah, with Golden Sword, a few too many hits than are actually necessary, but just showing off how to get in as many as possible. That, I don't know if that was the 12 for a Tempered Sword 1 cycle, but it was pretty close.
And Unknown going into Mire now. And this is
Ganon's
one
showing
of
off his fun new trick of going from corner to corner and not letting you hit him.
Which way did he go? Which way did Ganon go? Which way did I go? Ha 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 ha.
That was definitely more than 10, right?
It was definitely excessive to the point of being trolling. So, I mean, if you're going to be a final boss, you may as well, you know, troll. Kind of expected.
Oh my, and Killer App.
Beautiful.
Wow, yeah, nearly knocking himself off the edge there, all in order to line up that ideal triple and finishing off this race in superb fashion.
Indeed, and GG to Killer App. I don't have an official time, but at least his timer says 1:54:55. We'll get the official time momentarily for you.
Yeah, SRTV showing an official time of exactly that, 1 hour, 54 minutes, 55 seconds.
Oh, awesome. And I calls it like I sees it again. But yeah, definitely GG Killer App. We'll have to see if we can get him in the chat with us for a little bit. Meanwhile, Unknown making his way to the Mire basement.
Yeah, and it looks like we do have Killer App in here in the waiting room, so we will pull him in here. Killer App, congratulations. GG on your win.
Thank you, guys.
So, how you feeling about this right now? How do you feel about the seed in general so far?
Honestly, I thought it was fun. Started to wonder what version it was, having the hammer in Mystery Mire.
Yeah, Value Swamp rears its ugly head again.
I know,
waiting room,
that
so we will
too.
pull him in here. Killer App, congratulations.
It was crazy, but
GG on your win.
it was fun.
Oh shoot! So how you feeling about this right now? How do you feel about the seed in general so far? And I think I was interrupted by myself. Excuse me. How rude of me.
Yeah, sorry about that. We'll get audio switched over here away from Killer App to Unknownavailability as soon as we can. Rears its ugly head again.
So what would you say about the... what would you say would have been the hardest part of this run for you? And I think I was interrupted by myself. Excuse me. How rude.
It wasn't really too hard.
Yeah, sorry about that. We'll get audio
I sort of just,
here away
with
from
the early
Killer App
mitts
to
and
Unknownavailability
flippers,
as
I
soon as
sort
we
of,
can.
in the Mire, I sort of just decided, might as well not, like, dive in and risk dying early in some dungeons, so might as well full clear the overworld, because I can, most of it. Of course, without the hammer, but...
Oh, and
it worked out, okay.
Unknownavailability, taking a death here to Vitreous, is electing to just take the forfeit here and has jumped into commentary here. So we'll pull him in here and take both of your interviews at the same time.
Sounds like a plan then.
Okay, and Unknownavailability is in chat now. Unknownavailability, congratulations on taking care of what you did. That was a rough seed. So congratulations on soldiering through it as best you could.
Yeah, I'm not gonna waste anybody's time, man. I think I know where Quake's at. It's probably in Spike Cave, because I basically checked everywhere else.
You'd be surprised.
Yeah, actually, Spike Cave was... I actually forgot about Spike Cave, so if it was there, I would have been stumped.
Where was Quake?
It was at Sarashla.
Oh, Green Pendant, yeah. I hadn't turned that in yet. Okay, that was the other thing I hadn't turned in yet. Good lord, yeah. And I made so many dives and so many gambles and so many bad decisions.
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh man, if I could have played worse today. Oh my lord.
Sometimes
I'm sort of contemplating on commentary whether, if you didn't get go mode before going up to Turtle Rock, whether you would check Spike Cave first before dipping in there, or just go Turtle Rock and hope to find the last item in there. Didn't become an issue, but kind of interesting to wonder.
Yeah,
my plan was to literally go straight to Spike Cave and go for Quake there because I had no clue where Quake was, and then it would have taken me probably another minute to figure out what I was missing. Green Pendant, because I just finished Swamp Palace, and just, oh man, like everything about this seed just felt trolly. So that's why I did like I dipped Swamp to check the first chest. I was like, Hammer's gonna be there. It's gonna be something. And of course, Hammer was in Mire, requiring you to come back out and go somewhere else. Just every bit of just wonky like logic in this one, man.
Yeah, for sure.
That's just how nature, like, it's the nature of rando sometimes. Sometimes it plays nice, other times it wants to withhold everything from you as long as it can.
Yeah, and oh man, when I found Boots, I figured Killer probably sequence broke up to Death Mountain. When I found Boots and Spectacle Rock, I already felt behind. I was like, oh, great, because of course Catfish had Lamp, and I'm like, oh man, I should have just gone up to Death Mountain when I could.
Actually, I was sort of thinking I sort of flubbed it too because I didn't sequence break. I thought you might have done it, but yeah,
So
with the early mitts and flippers, I just decided to full clear the overworld and dark overworld in Hyrule. I didn't even go up to Death Mountain until I got the lamp.
Yeah, I was doing the same thing pretty much, and then I found the lamp, and I'm like, I'm going to Death Mountain now. That's the play. We're going there. And I decided not to dip Hera until I got Book, and I came back and then found Flute on the tablet, and I'm just like, oh, great, that's another thing that I had to come up here for.
Oh, yeah, I had the Book. I had so I got that all in one go.
Yeah, the mitts, like I got pigeonholed into the mitts. I think I checked everywhere possible until I put off Ice Rod Cave a little bit too long, and it just happened to be that one time I didn't go there. I usually route it in, and this time Agena did not pay off, but Ice Rod Cave did. So, but sorry, chat. Sorry to forfeit on y'all. I just didn't want to waste anybody's time because Killer App definitely got that win, and I had to find Quake still, and just no, not gonna do it. GG Killer App, man. You definitely
GG,
took this
man.
one.
No hard feelings about that, seated.
Nah, thank you, Feasel.
Sure.
Thank you. We love you. Appreciate it.
Yeah, I'm going to be fascinated to see Killer App's collection percentage coming up here, as it certainly felt like a hundo seed.
It did. Oh my lord.
It probably won't be as high because the early big key in GT.
Where was it?
It was like
Number 8.
Yes.
Left side,
it was 8.
first chest randomizer room.
Right on. Left side. Oh, that wouldn't have been 8. Then that would have been 10. Left side. Our first chest rando room would have been 10.
No, it was the first chest of the Stalfos room.
Oh, first chest of the Stalfos. Okay.
Oh yeah, of course. My apologies.
Yeah. So that's that would be 4 then. Okay. Well, 4 on normal routing if you went straight right and then went left. But yeah. So, but yeah, man. GG. Appreciate y'all's commentary, appreciate tracking, appreciate Feasel for restreaming. Yeah, good luck, man, on 3 and 1. Definitely.
Hey, thanks, man. Good luck to you the rest of the way as well.
Yeah,
I'm sure you're gonna have a much better seed than this one next time.
Oh, I hope so. Let's hope that Feasel is not generating. Oh man, that was just so awful. I could not believe it. Oh.
Yeah, and we were both saying in commentary as we were finishing up here, it ended up being a, significant time difference, but in the end, there weren't really any bad decisions, just kind of unfortunate ones. You make some gambles, you don't make other gambles, and it turned out to be a really entertaining race to watch, I think, even with the big time difference. So thanks to both of you for giving us a good show.
Yeah, thanks, definitely.
Yep, thank you.
Yeah, I'm glad we did a good show for y'all, and yeah, I figured gambles would definitely end up paying off here, and of course the early Death Mountain gamble would have paid off, but neither one of us did. So,
no.
But thank you again, guys. Y'all have a good one. I'm gonna drop out.
All right. Yep. Me too.
Right.
So
hey,
see
thanks.
you guys later.
Hey, thanks for coming in.
Yep. Thanks so much.
No problem.
And with that, we are coming to the end of our broadcast here. Reload the schedule real quick and see what we have on tap for you. It looks like, because it is 12:10 p.m. Eastern Daylight Savings Time. We don't currently have a restream match going for you right now that you can jump into. Coming up next on the schedule is Capamoser versus Rainbow Poogle on Speed Gaming 3, and that is coming up in about 50 minutes here. So if you are jonesing, you're going to have to wait a little bit longer to get your fix, but definitely more rando to come today.
Hey, definitely got some time to grab some lunch anyway, so if you're on that side of the world, so...
Oh yeah, food. I forgot about these prosaic human things that get in the way of commentary.
Well, you should have seen that with a mushroom in Ganon's tower. I mean, jeez.
I don't know if I would eat that mushroom.
I wouldn't either. But yeah, definitely we got some other good matches coming up for you tonight. So definitely keep your eye out. Follow Speed Gaming 1 through 6, ALTTP Randomizer 1 through 4. We definitely got a nice bit of matches for you today. And if you can't make it to some others like me, because you have to work, there's definitely going to be more all throughout the week. So stay tuned. We'll be commentating more for you. We'll be playing more matches. Bound to be some nice seeds, trolley seeds, ped seeds, maybe jet seeds. Who knows?
Yeah, and big thanks as always to everybody involved in the production of the massive endeavor that has become our spring tournament. Thanks in particular to Yoinker's wife for taking care of the tracking here, doing an excellent job keeping us on track as we miss those split-second math checks. I've been Estragon Zero. Rick Fox, any last words before we finish up here?
Well, I definitely want to thank you for being my co-commentator. It has been a heck of a time doing so, and thank you very much. I also want to thank the chat for coming out here. Chat is always a good time as well, so thank you for being here. Without you, we would not be having a tournament this cool. And basically, yeah, thanks to our runners, and thanks to Yoinker's wife and our restreamer as well. I didn't catch his name, I'm sorry.
Oh, with Speed Gaming, I always just assume that it's Fiesel's shadowy hands behind the scenes, acting as the puppet master of all that is.
Gotcha, and that's where I show a little noobishness here, but that's okay. We're all here for the fun anyway, so thank you to everybody. That's what I says, and Estragon, any final words for you?
It has been an honor and a pleasure to commentate the first seed of the day for you if you live in America, and I will be glad to see you in future races. Bye-bye.
Take it easy. I'll come back now. You hear?